All right, so welcome back to the Team O'Neill Rally School. What we wanted to do today is just a quick video for you guys looking at getting into racing.
Right.
Do you rent a car? Do you buy a car? Do you build a car? Building cars versus buying, a used car?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a strong believer in the used car first for most scenarios. We've worked with a lot of clients, and we do build brand new cars for a client for the first time you ever go rally, but getting that initial investment back is impossible from building a new car. So if you're in a life position where that's not important for you, then that's great. But most of the clients that we work with, looking at used first is almost always the better option I've found.
Yeah, I've heard the number that if you build a new rally car and it's all pristine and shiny and perfect versus the same thing a few rallies later is like half the cost.
Effectively.
Yeah, so it depreciates faster than, or a supercar level of depreciation, really.
But that's the nice thing about a used car. Once it's depreciated at 50%, it really retains that value for a long time. So especially if you're looking at renting and you buy it, I'd buy a used car and sell it in 2 rallies, and you could get all your money back from
It's
the
the same kind of thing of like renting an apartment versus buying a house. Having that asset is definitely better than throwing money away that you don't get back, right?
Yeah, and if you go buy a $10,000 rally car and do a couple races with it, as long as you don't, burn it to the ground or
Smash it.
really destroy it, it's still going to be worth 10 grand.
And even if you do, you already, in the rental scenario, you already bought it anyways, kind of. So
Yeah.
to me, the upside's the same.
So if you want to buy a car, rent it and wreck it. A used rally car, what would you look for if you were going to go buy a used rally car? What's your checklist of things before you really bought a car?
Well, the good thing about a rally car or any race car that's logbooked is that it has a list of what it's done. Right? It has the rallies it's been to, it has if it's finished or not, it has if it's been crashed and needed to be fixed in certain ways that's kind of, here or there sketchy. So, I mean, like any used car, you're going to look at the stuff it has, look at what's been done to it, look at the stuff that kind of works and kind of doesn't work, and the overall condition of it. But yeah, that logbook helps too, seeing how many rallies it's done, how many finishes it has, versus how many DNFs for crashes or what have you. And that's really the benefit of a used car is that it's already finished, right? So it's already works, and you already know it's tested, and it might even have wins here or there or whatever. So you get to see, what you're getting, right? Because it's already performed out there on the stages.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, logbook, if I go build a rally car in my garage, they're not just going to let me go race it. I've got to take it to the technical safety inspector who's going to inspect the roll cage and all of the other stuff and make sure that it is to code with the rule book. But something you might know more than I do is the rule book changes.
Yeah, and that's a variable too. So picking up a car that already has a logbook, it might be okay with that cage from that era. It might not fit our rules anymore, and sometimes you get grandfathered, roll cages or stuff, but you're effectively taking that safety risk onto yourself. There's a reason that logbook or that cage design is no longer legal. Some cars it's okay to take that risk. Some cars it's because the metal was wrong, or they found that over time that metal breaks, and so there's a little bit of risk with that, but that's the nice thing about this sport is everyone will tell you pretty straight up if that's an issue or not. But you might get into a scenario where you have to strip the car all the way down, strip the cage out, and that's when looking at new kind of might make sense, if you had to start from scratch again.
Yeah, if you look at a race car from the 1990s and you look at the roll cage design, you would laugh at it compared to what there is now. And what there is now is there because of international events as well as American events where people have been injured and killed, really.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, there's an analysis of the crashed car and where did it fail, which bar collapsed, can we add a gusset here, or was the tubing not thick enough or large enough or supported properly or whatever. So sometimes that can get grandfathered. So if you go buy a 1998 rally car, maybe you're allowed to run it. The question is, would you really even want to, though?
Right.
If you're doing it as a hobby on the weekends, it could be fun, go out racing, but maybe not something you're going to go drive 10/10ths and start taking chances with.
That leads right into where I was going to go with the reason to buy new versus used is what is your goal? If your goal is to go on stage and become a champion, buying used probably isn't the right route, because if you want to be pushing your car to that limit, the trustworthiness and knowing that, you know, something like a Fiesta that we build here, a proven car that's already been, you know, that is the car if you want to be a champion, that's the car to get into. And so if your goal is to be that, then that's when you need to look at that level of investment. The other thing we've seen before too is somebody gets into the used car and is saying to themselves, I'm not going to be the champion, I'm going for experience. Then the red mist and they get on stage and they're going for the win, and then that's when incidents happen. It's a whole thing, and we've seen a lot of it, but you got to be realistic with yourself and your own priorities and goals and say, hey, you know, what am I actually trying to accomplish? And 99.9% of the times, if you've never stage rallied, going to become a champion on their first stage rally is probably not the right goal.
And you probably know, again, with the logbook, the one thing that you shouldn't compromise on is the safety stuff. What kind of, if you're looking at a used rally car, what's your checklist other than just the roll cage?
You know, seats, belts, the belts up to date, or you're gonna have to get new belts. A thing to think about when you're buying a used car, especially, you know, like a $7,000, $10,000 rally car, not some, you know, really well built, like only 2-year-old car, is why are they getting rid of it, right? Are they just getting out of it, or are they looking to get into something faster, or is there a lot of work to do, right? You're buying someone else's project that, you know, is maybe old, maybe some SCCA old logbook car, and it needs bars here and it needs bars there, and it needs new belts, needs new seats, and then you're looking at a whole bunch of other money and work that you have to do on this car that, you know, you thought was ready to go. So definitely be sure to look at, you know, what it might need.
And if you're not a mechanic or mechanically inclined, that's a big variable, right? Like if you have to learn on your first rally car, going used is not a bad thing, but yeah, it's sometimes if you have the ability, you get that kind of first season usually of getting to race without any major issues.
And that could be why you're getting a used car, that you don't have the know-how or the money to pay someone else to build it, but you want to get into it and you don't have the know-how to kind of build it yourself. That might be why you're getting into it. So you want to be sure that it's ready to go, pretty much like turnkey, as they say.
Yeah, you see, the problem is to build a rally car properly, you need to be somewhat of a mechanical engineer, fabricator, a wiring expert, paint guy, a body guy, whatever else. And not that many people really are. I'm not going to build a rally car in my back shed. And if I did, I'd have pretty low expectations about my workout. So,
and that's buying someone's used car who just tried to do that.
Yeah,
that's
the scary thing is a lot of these grassroots cars, you know, are built by someone in a shed. That, you know, maybe they were good at some things, but things like the welds on the roll cage.
As long as it has a logbook, usually someone else has said that's good enough. But
yeah, somebody's checked off on it, but still, I mean, most people, you know, you could Google good welds versus bad welds and see a big difference there, you know, and some of the other stuff that you really would want to check off on wiring wise, and we've seen some really scary wiring over the years in used rally cars.
Yeah, and that's even part of the logbook. It's not everything is necessarily inspected, so the basic safety stuff should be there, but yeah, you know, there's a lot of variables that you can consider. So if you're not mechanically inclined, make sure you get somebody who is to look at the car, you know, and make sure, get that second opinion.
Yeah, and that safety inspection in the logbook and everything is great, but that happened when the car was brand new. If that was 20 events ago, things could be stressed, cracked, or broken. There's no guarantee any of the bolts are tight on anything. Or that, okay, you know, hey, it's got Olin suspension and it sounds wonderful, but how often should Olin suspension be rebuilt?
Yeah, every couple events at least.
Yeah, re-greased, and yeah, as soon as certain things fail, then essentially, you know, it was $10,000 suspension. Now it's almost worthless parts. Yeah. So that's, you know, buying a car certainly, and please feel free, if you're in the States at least, or even into Canada, if you're looking at a car, email it to us, because, you know, we probably know whose car it is.
We love helping, and we have 3 clients right now that we're working on with that. They're looking for used cars, and they're kind of having us check these cars out in Facebook groups and Special Stage, and we keep giving them feedback, and that's another service we provide is if someone buys a used car and wants us to fully refresh it for them, that's something that we've done in the past and will continue to do.